Good evening, everybody. Hello and welcome. You are watching So You Think You Can Cast Round 2, where I, CarraGold, are joined this evening by PandaBearAsh, and I have got the luxury of being able to bring you a Smite night fixture for this wonderful evening. And we have got two very hotly contested close teams this evening. We've got Team Toxic against Ravenous Reapers. Both have had a pretty good start to this evening. Both won 3 games out of 4. And this one should be absolutely blockbuster, as we have seen for the majority of our fixtures so far this evening. But my chair to this evening is PandaBearAsh. Say hello, Panda. How are you this evening?
Hello, hello. Yeah, I'm doing quite great. I've been having a great day so far. I've been doing just pretty much everything that I've wanted, so I'm glad to be here. Very excited for this game. Always love some close games.
Yes. And you know what? European Smite, maybe not everyone isn't quite so familiar, but I promise you we will deliver for you this evening. So we're in picks and bans are going to be underway very, very soon. But what I want to ask you, Panda Bear, is who are we going to be on the lookout for here in terms of picks and bans? What gods right now are you going to be keeping an eye on to be slipping through that first ban phase?
So a lot of the times, we see a lot of priority bans, specifically like Lancelot, Amuzin Cab. Ratatusker being picked up is a very interesting first pick. He's
Even
seen some
gods must need
prominence
the scales
in
to
this scale.
face.
He's really, really good. But there's definitely gods like the Nemesis and the Iset and the King Arthur they're just looking at with the Sea
For
Huang.
Camelot!
You
Pretty much
are not
what
yet
we just
ready
saw in
to
our
become the
top in
Jade
these
Emperor.
first 5 picks is exactly what you'd expect to be first pick besides this Ratatusker. You could make a case if it's a real comfort pick, you didn't want them taking it away, then I'd say go for it. I'm excited to see how it goes.
There's
And this
no way
Kraken being picked up,
out!
another really good pick. So I'm excited. Both teams have a great draft. A draft with an E set will always be just absolute damage, shred, and objective secure. And a draft with a Yu Huang will always just have a safer mid lane with a bit of pressure.
Yeah, Yu Huang has seen a lot of play lately, and there's a lot of people sort of putting him right at the top of that list of top tier mages right now. The Ratataska pick is an interesting one because alongside King Arthur, that says to me that it's going to be Ratataska jungle, which we haven't really seen a lot of lately. So, what is it that's changed that's brought him to the top?
There's just a lot of things that could make a player favorite. His global presence is a very big thing. Also, the current build just matches up really nicely with him. You don't feel too bad because you can go ahead and not get Transcendence and get something like a Crusher and just go ahead and have no delayed power spike while still getting your Acorn. Um, Also, that Acorn is a very huge item. It gives him a tiny bit of movement speed, and the passive, no matter what you go, is always going to be a good one. Usually in jungle, we tend to see the 5 Acorn one, which in his Acorn Blast adds 2 extra Acorns on the end, widening its stun range.
Yeah,
It
and
won't
we've got the
matter.
Kabrakan picked up here. Now, it's starting to take shape around there, but with the Iset and Toph on the table, is this Kabrakan going to be solo? Could it be jungle? Or is it going to be the support? We're going to find out.
The
Jingtin
terror of
gets
the
locked in
depths!
as well, and Charybdis rounds off that draft. And what are you thinking here, Panda? Looking at what we've got so far on the order side, is that a team with a lot of CC, someone who's going to be very difficult to fight into in the mid game?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, King Arthur is a very good single beads burner. He's going to be just taking with his charged ultimate. He's going to be going ahead and just absolutely taking out a fight, allowing his team to set up, which is really dangerous with the Yu Huang. Xing Tian is a very good
Glory
beads
be to mine
burner with
allies!
Whirlwind of Rage and Steel. A lot of CC. Rad Tusker's a knockup and a stun. So you're definitely gonna want to be beadsing if you're the enemy team and you want to be conscious about it. But I'm not too sure going what is going on with the picks and bans of the other team. An Uller is traditionally a pick we see in mid. I can't remember the last time I've seen him played in ADC. He's not necessarily a bad pick. A lot of pressure. He's just an ability based ADC, which we don't see often in the long lane. Not saying it's going to be bad. I think it could work out very well, especially into a pick like a Charybdis, which is high safety into high pressure. So you're almost already winning lane if you play it right. But what really is interesting is the Thoth pick. Um, I I honestly think that is going mid. It's going to be a Cabrakan solo and ESET support.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at the front line of the order side. We've got King Arthur and Jing Tin, two very, very high
Mhm.
pressure front laners, and Ratataska
Yeah.
can be thrown into that mix as well. Is there a lot of pressure on the ESET if it is support to peel for the team? Because if you can't leave that front line unchecked.
You absolutely have to. I mean, you need to be on point with your silences. You need to be on point with your spirit balls. You need to be on point with literally everything. I mean, Circle of Protection even needs to be on point just with how much dive and damage is already in this front line, and they have the back line of a Yuhong and a Charybdis. So much damage following it up. As an E-set, you need to be very, very careful, and you need to just know that you probably are gonna die if you get caught out. So your focus should be peeling your team no matter what.
Yeah, and as Judas gets ready to take us into the game, I'm going to ask you, Panda, who are you liking the look of these drafts? Are you going to throw it out there and put your hat on one of these teams?
Um, I honestly really like Team Toxic drafts. It has a lot of things that just it has a lot of things going for it with this King Arthur and this Ing-Tan and Su-Hong. I honestly think it's just the better draft. Ravenous Supers does have a great draft. Does have a great draft. There's a lot of merits to it. I mean, there's a lot of high pressure in the duo lane. The solo lane has a good bit of pressure, and Nemesis is always going to be a great pick, just because of the shred that she has. So I think Team Toxic should take this, but it's going to be a close game.
Yeah, I'm going to have to side with you there, Panda. I do actually. I'm liking the look of this Team Toxic draft, but only time will tell. And we're going to run you through the order side now. So, Team Toxic in the solo lane, we will have just like Aza, who will be on the King Arthur. In the jungle, we will have Thomas Flop on the ever popular Ratataska, and we will have fellow. So you think you can cast contestant Zats in the mid lane on Yu Huang. Over in the dual lane, we will have Terra Timza on Jing Tin, alongside Mike27R, who will be picking up the ever safe Charybdis. For the Ravenous Reapers on the Chaos side, we will have Huffy on Cabrakan in the solo lane, which is going to be a great battle here with this King Arthur. Noonan will be on Nemesis in the jungle, and then Hyus will be picking up Toph in the mid lane, and making up the duo lane will be Kino92 and Amri over on the Ul. And there's quite a lot of high pressure gods on show here, Panda. I'm expecting to see quite a bit of action in this duo lane with the Jingtian and an Isak.
Yeah, I definitely am too. A lot of high pressure, a lot of CC. I mean, just because we talked about the CC of Team Toxic, but that is not without Ravenous Reaper CC. They have a lot of single target CC within this Cabrakan and Uller. There's 3 stuns between them. A slow from Nemesis and Spirit Ball and how much CC ESET has. There's a lot that they can do to set up for the Stoke, which makes it really good. So I honestly think Team Toxic has to be careful with where they pick their fights, because if they aren't, they're going to be picked out and they're just going to be shredded.
Yeah, and Ravenous Reapers with the ESET and all will have that early clear. They will have the early pressure, and they have already started to make their way and take the likes of side Harpies. But we will keep an eye on that one. Solo lane, I'm expecting to see a bit of action as well, because Cabrakan against King Arthur, that is 2 heavyweights, and we do see action as King Arthur is looking to get those last few hits onto Huffy, but they pound the ground and clear away the last of those minions. But yeah, we also see some pressure in the mid lane. And Panda, what are you expecting to see from this solo lane? Because if you get behind here as King Arthur to this Cabrakan, that's a difficult one to come back into.
I'm honestly so. If you are Aza, you are hoping you either get ahead or you don't, or you just stay even as first blood drops for Hayes.
We do see
Really good
Hayus
play.
get first blood in the mid lane as Nemesis falls. Sorry, Ratataska fell. I do apologise. Team Toxic
Yeah.
losing that first one. And now we're looking to take that pressure over into the solo lane, invade this blue buff. Azza just comes over here to try and save it. But now they're in a 2v1 situation where the Ravenous Reapers have got what they came for, and they are going to hard retreat. And that early kill in mid lane, Panda, has spread its way over to solo.
Yeah, that definitely feels rough for King Arthur. King Arthur relies so heavily on his blue buff. Invading it constantly just makes it feel bad for him. So I definitely do need Thomas Flop to be on that blue buff as soon as possible, especially against a pick like this Cabrakan, going the Fighter's Mask lifesteal build, which he's going to have a lot of lifesteal and a lot of damage. So you don't want him ahead, especially because he is just going to shred you. But in this early game, his squishiness, he doesn't have much lifesteal. It should lead... Losing a blue buff isn't going to feel too bad for a King Arthur, because he isn't going to be just immediately just screwed from the start. So I definitely don't feel terrible if I'm Azza, but I'm definitely communicating to Thomas that he needs to be on the blue buff.
Yeah, very, very difficult task when your blue buff has already been taken early, that you don't let that snowball and lose control of that jungle. So wards are going to be absolutely key here. As we don't see too much going on in the dual lane so far, I did expect a little bit more action. We see Thomas Flop helping themselves to the oracles. Oh, it looks like there's going to be a fight brewing here, though. But no, it does actually dissipate. And Panda, what do you make of this fighter's mass build on Cabrakan? Because he's going into lifesteal as well, so you know this is a power build. This is a heavy hitter. This isn't a tank who's going to be peeling. This is someone who wants to do damage.
Yeah. So with their comp, they have a lot of peel in the E set, and they just need someone else to confirm the dive. Of course, this build can peel, not as effective as this King Arthur, but it can peel, and that's by literally just deleting the opponent's. Typically, you're going to be seeing a Bancroft's Claw, really just a lot of lifesteal and damage in the build. As you know, we see a fight breaking out over this blue buff. Is anything going to happen?
Yeah, as Ace comes over here, Thomas Flop does secure the blue buff, but it may come at a cost. They have to go through the Cosmos to get away from this. As Azov is trapped, getting pounded into the ground, but they do manage to escape. Noonan is low. Rat is looking to finish this one off, and they do. Thomas Flop gets a retaliation kill, and now it's Huffy using trouble because Zat is rotating over here on the top. There is a final judgment being lined up. Is it going to connect? Stun not available from the Ratatska, but the root is Zat gets the kill. Huffy retaliates. Oh, and Hayes comes over and cleans away Thomas Flop. Retaliation kill on the board for Ravenous Reaper, 2 for 2. And we have seen a lot so far, Panda, happen over for this blue buff.
That's, yeah, I mean, if you're Azza, you're kind of taking that. You know, having Huffy fall is really good for you. It allows you to get back in the lead. You also confirmed your blue buff, but also that just feels really good for Zats. I mean, having your jungler fall again isn't your ideal situation, but you were able to rotate in there, get yourself a kill. Also, you know, it is a net positive for like everyone but Thomas. Only participate, you know, did get those assists, but it's not exactly what you want because Nemesis was able to farm. Noonan will have the advantage in every single fight, although Thomas is a level up, so that does give me some high hopes for Thomas. You know, he isn't too far behind with these 2 deaths, so I think it's going to work out for him.
More scrapping in the duo and the solo lane. Sorry, it's just like Azza just gets caught between Cabrakan's walls. Noonan helps himself to that one, and Ravenous Reaper's really taking advantage of the early situation over in this solo lane. It's kind of left duo and mid lane a little bit neglected, but at least we're getting lots of action for us to cast. And Huffy, you know, they just managed to stretch themselves a level ahead. Then Azza falls down again. This is exactly what we spoke about before, Panda. If you fall behind to a Cabrakan, King Arthur or not, this is going to be a tricky one to recover from, especially now that Bancroft's Talon is online.
Yeah, Bancroft's Talon is a huge power spike, especially just with how early you're able to get it. I mean, you're getting it 7 minutes, and it's so much damage. If you fall low, it's going to feel so nice. So Huffy is in a really nice spot, and Azza needs to be careful. They can't play like they're traditionally used to while playing on a King Arthur. You need to play back. You need to play conservative, and that's kind of completely against what a King Arthur plays like. He's playing up in your face. He's playing just to poke you out for whatever reason. I mean, there could be no reason, and he's still going to poke you out.
As we see Thomas Flop once again making their way over to the solo lane, looking to close down Huffy, but Huffy fights back and sends that rat back to where he came from, and the retaliation is here now because Noonan is over here as well, and Azzy is going to have to be on a hard retreat. They take a couple of hits from the Nemesis, not enough to finish them off though, fires back a little bit of damage, maybe aware that ESET has rotated over as well, and just like Azza, it looked like it was 2v1 for the side of Team Toxic there, but the Ravenous Reapers making that retaliation kill, and you've got to say so much of that came from that Bancroft talent healing, just keeping them alive. It's such a difficult item, and it's so good on a god who gets himself ahead. So the junglers we've seen have been over in this right side so long this game, and does that play a part, Panda, that Noonan has picked up Blink instead of beads? Would you also be staying well away from this, Shington?
Yeah, I would. My goal as Huffy currently, until I hit level 12, is to bully Azza as much as I can until I see Terror come into my lane, and then I'm running away under my tower as far as I can. I am never stepping up to the Xing Tian unless I have beads or I have a wall where he can throw me.
Yeah, smart plays. I'd be doing exactly the same. I'm a big coward when it comes to big scary guardians like Jintin, especially when I don't have beads. Ravenous Reapers now making their first incursion over into the left side jungle, but not too much to find for here. And what we're going to see soon, Panda, is there's a lot of big ultimates that are now online, aren't they? You know, you've got the Whirlwind, the Raging Steel, you've got Charybdis, and now you've got the Dueling Dragons as well. So the first big team fight, you know, this is going to be really instrumental in how this early stage goes, doesn't it? Because Team Toxic have got some great team fight ults on the table here.
Oh, now it is. All right, well.
We do see a fight brewing in dual lane for the first time. Mike gets into the Morve, and that safety of Charybdis, such an annoyance. And now Terra Timza finds themselves in a bit of a tricky situation surrounded by 4. There comes the Nemesis ult. It has been used. The slice and dice is used as well to slow down Terra Timza perfectly for Hayus to fire. All that damage, the final judgment comes in, but does not connect. And that doesn't work out too badly for Team Toxic. That could have gone a hell of a lot worse, Panda.
Yeah, it definitely could have. Honestly, Mike, I don't think Mike really gets out there on many other gets out of that situation on many other picks. Charybdis definitely providing that safety, and it definitely worked. Huffy's just invading those back camps, which is a really good play. You need to get ahead. You need to just do what he's doing. But you know, within that fight, Hayus rotating over definitely was a good play. It worked out for him, and he was just fine. But I honestly, you know, it feels rough because he did miss his final judgment. That is what you were riding on. You know, it could have gotten some good damage and maybe killed Terror, but he completely whiffed it. So, you know, it feels rough, but he clearly is just going to go ahead, keep his head down, farm until he can get it up again. And I'm guessing they're just going to make that same exact rotation or do the same thing in mid and then look for a Gold Fury. Because I honestly think that's what Ravenous Reapers are doing. They are trying to get a Gold Fury, and they are just waiting.
Yeah, as we hit roughly over the 10-minute mark, not too much to separate the teams. We're at about 1,000 gold, 500 XP, so not a massive chasm between the two sides. But we have seen a decent amount of fighting, certainly over in this solo lane. And the Gold Fury, the first Gold Fury is going to be quite a big moment, I think, because there's so many ultimates available from Team Toxic that can really make an impact here. But then again, no objective is safe while there's a final judgment available.
No. There is no objective that is safe or that you can pull when you have Hayus or really Kino on the field. You have to if Kino goes ahead and shows up, steps up, plays their circle of protection, you have to wait it out. You are ceasing to DPS that objective, and you are waiting until it runs out, because Kino is going to just outconfirm you every single time with the burst of damage. Hayus, same thing. I mean, you can try and flip it, hope that he's fast enough, but that's really never a good idea. And Team Toxic doesn't really have something akin to Final Judgment. Dueling Dragons could maybe be that, but there's a lot of positioning. And also, Final Judgment has a faster travel time than Dueling Dragons, so Final Judgment is just the better secure. As we see as a Pyromancer is being pulled by Ravenous Reapers.
It certainly is, but Team Toxic are aware of this, and they have made their way over. King Arthur
Good
looking to
deal.
get involved, gets a knock up on one. Huffy has to retreat hard. King Arthur is looking to chase. Up into the sky they go. Will the Rage of Steel throws Noonan into danger.
No,
Have they got the
good
barrier
deal.
off the east to get away? Yes, they have. Very good peel indeed. And now the
Wow.
damage comes back from Toff. Sends those who are looking to pursue Noonan back on their way. And King Arthur has been chasing Huffy for what feels like an eternity. And they finally get the kill, just like Azza finally getting the kill on their opposing solo laner, as we see the two duo laners fighting it out, but that will dissipate into a kill. And we spoke earlier on about the ESET peel needing to be on point. Well, it definitely was there, Panda.
Yeah, it definitely was. Kino showing his proficiency with that pick, a really good play. But you also have to look at Hayus there. Hayus providing so much damage, absolutely taking out Thomas from that fight. He just got deleted. He was at full health at one point, got hit with Final Judgment and 2 bursts of the stim, taken out. He wasn't able to continue because he was on like 200 health max.
Yeah, and that kill actually onto Huffy has perhaps been a little bit more costly than it perhaps seemed at first, because just like Azza has turned a level deficit into a level lead now, so just from one small kill, they've completely flipped that solo lane round on its head, and that's the position you want to be in as King Arthur. Certainly not behind to a Kabrakan, but now we look like there's a little bit of grouping happening around Go Fury. Surely it's not too long until that is looked at by someone. No towers fallen yet. But Panda, this looks like it's going to be danger for Amri, though, as in comes Ratataska. There is the initial burst damage, but the stun axe is good in retaliation. But now ESET is on here as well, looking for the peel. Wilbin Ridge Steel is being lined up by Terra. Thinks against it. And no, you're right. ESET came over, broke that one up like a bouncer, says, everyone dissipate, please go home. And once again, Huffy looking to proxy farm over on this side, clearing away minions from the solo lane, and surely Panda, Gold Fury can't be too far away now.
You definitely have to look at pulling it. Team Toxic already has the wards up. They're already looking towards these oracles, so you have to be conscious of when you're pulling it.
Huffy's in a little bit of danger here. Sorry, Panda. Huffy looks like they're in a bit of danger in this solo lane. They've stepped up a little bit too far. Up into the Cosmos goes Ratataska, but it's not needed, as just like Aza punishes Huffy for overstepping into that right side. Ravenous Reapers were maybe considering going for the Gold Fury there, but they haven't, knowing that Team Toxic were in the right side. And that's quite a big kill to get on Huffy. Now they've lost that lead they gained early on.
Yeah, definitely is rough. Huffy, definitely, you just gotta play conservative. You are a very early lane bully and a very late bully to literally everyone. So within this mid game, when you don't really have all your items online, you have to be careful, because you don't know when you can just get caught out and absolutely killed. And even in the late game, that's a bit of a problem as the Go Fury is getting pulled. So Huffy just needs to really be more careful with his plays. He does have the beads now, so it should be a bit easier. But a fight is breaking out.
It looked like they were going for the Gold Fury, but they've dropped it and decided to go for Kino instead, and they do pick Kino up. Ravenous Reapers are also on the retreat themselves. They're aware this Gold Fury is happening, but I don't think there's a great deal they can do about it. Huffy is here, but doesn't have any defensive items, which is why they took such a chunk there. Team Toxic get the Gold Fury. This fight may not be over yet, but that's a big win for Team Toxic there.
Yeah, that all came down to some really great zoning from Terror and Azza, especially great zoning from Azza's side. He went ahead. He was constantly trying to apply damage on Huffy to make sure he can't blink in. If you notice, Huffy was in the position. If he wasn't damaged, he would have been able to blink in and Tremor and immediately disrupt everything, making them turn on him, leading so his other teammates can go ahead, try and deal some damage out while he's dealing damage, which is kind of the whole point of this pick. So really great plays by Azza, making sure that he just can't blink in, making sure that he can't do what he was trying to do, and it ended up working out perfectly. Terror also zoning out just literally 3 people with the threat of his ultimate is actually insane, especially since Hayus doesn't have beats right now, as they are on cooldown for another 60 seconds.
Yeah, and Huffy takes a few more hits from King Arthur, and it looks like they are going down the full damage trees. We see a Typhon's Fang, and what looks like is going to be either a Book of the Dead, or maybe a Book of Thoth being picked up by Huffy. And is that potentially a worry late game, Panda, that there isn't any defense on their solo laner?
So it is, and it isn't. To a normal comp as we do see the beats come out and a wall. Great plays by great plays by Huffy, but Thomas is able to bees and get out. It is a bit of a worry if you didn't just draft this pick knowing full well that it is going full damage. Because realistically, when you're drafting a King Arthur and King Arthur, but a Kraken and Solo right now, you are knowledgeable. You know that it is going full damage, and that's just because it is the best course of action. The Ravenous Reaper is pulling a Pyramid, so they do have to be careful.
Okay, he's taking so much damage. Final Judgment being lined up. Is it going to connect? No, it's not, because they use it to steal or to try and steal away the Pyromancer. Charybdis is down into the maw, but so much damage coming out from Hayus. Amre picks one up as well, and now just like Ezra is on a hard retreat with 3 members of Ravenous Reapers in pursuit. Thomas flopping danger now as well. TerraTimza does the best they can and tries to delay the onslaught that is coming, but the ground is being powered by TerraTimza as they just get pulled back into danger. Ravenous Reapers out of nowhere pick up 4 members of Team Toxic, and this could potentially Panda be a fire giant.
Yeah, I almost think that is the play you have to make. You have to go fire giant here. Thomas, either is going to be zoned out by Huffy or is going to have to defend mid lane. Either way, he's not stepping up to this fire giant at all. There's no shot he ever does. So Ravenous Reaper is 18 minutes in, get a free fire giant with not much else to really contend with it. As this mid tier 1 does fall to this Trebuchet, which is a really good boon. Ravenous Reaper is getting a good chunk of gold just off of one good play. I mean, the 4 kills feels really nice there. It was all off of just some really nice play coming off of Ravenous Reaper, some low health bars positioning together, enabling Hayus to go ahead, burst them down. Amara able to jump and get a kill. Hayus get a kill at the same time, which started it all off, and they tried fighting it into a second. And within that second, Ravenous Reaper just turned it all around and bursted them down. And Thomas could do nothing because he literally dumped his whole kit seconds prior. So Team Toxic had to have been on the back foot, and there's no way that they just know that happens. But now you have to be cautionary. Now that you know that they do have the capabilities of bursting you down, no matter what, you have to be cautionary. You have to be playing more of a pick style of game, because that's what they're doing. You have to play against that to make sure that you don't get picked out, because if you do, that's exactly what they want, and they will gladly fight into you.
Yeah, and those graphs tell the story perfectly. Team Toxic had slowly been building themselves into a comfortable lead. And I wouldn't say a massive lead, but certainly a comfortable lead. And then just one team fight, and they lose a tower, they lose a fire giant, and now they're on the back foot. And Ravenous Reapers have stretched themselves into a little bit of an XP lead as well on a couple of the roles that wasn't there before. Mike certainly wasn't behind Amre. But now, this is where mentals get tested, isn't it, Panda? Because Team Toxic needs to, say, we've done okay up until this point. We just need to regroup now and hold ourselves for the next few minutes.
Yeah, you really do. I mean, Team Toxic definitely aren't out of the game. One bad team fight tells nothing, especially with an 18-minute fire giant. You feel terrible. If I'm Ravenous Reapers, I'm playing like I have some extra weight, but I'm still being cautious, because Team Toxic can just do what Ravenous Reapers just did to them really easily, and they need to be cautious. They need to siege these towers correctly. They need to know when to fight and when to not, and it looks like they already do. They just have to be careful in these towers, because they don't really have a traditional tower shredder as the fight does break out.
Yeah, big whirlwind of rage and steel. Doesn't connect with anybody. A lot of BGUs though through the cosmos up in the sky. And Team Toxic, they've lost a tower here, but that's not really the end of the world. I'd say that's not too bad to disengage from, considering the Ravenous Reapers do have Fire Giant in hand, of course. Gold Fury is going to potentially be the target for the Reapers next, as they look to retreat through the jungle. TerraTimza looking to get involved, but no, does manage to dissipate. And that's not a bad loss, is it, Panda? Fire Giant for 2 towers? I'd take that.
I mean, definitely, Ravenous Reapers are feeling quite nice. They took 2 towers, a tier 1 and a tier 2 there, so they're feeling nice as they're sieging down.
Amre on the back line, though, getting so much damage onto Mike. TerraTimza is already gone, and now Mike is going to have to get into the moat and get out of there. They push them far away from that tier 2 tower now. They basically force their way in. All of that come from from Amre making a flank around the back and just getting so much damage onto Mike. And if you look at the build of that Ullet Panda, that is a build that is going to do big burst damage very quickly.
Yeah, it is. I mean, especially if he's able just to get an auto off. If you are letting Amre to go ahead get his X auto bow, one auto with the bow stance, and then go ahead get the hail of arrows auto. You're essentially allowing him to delete your health bar. You have to find a way to stop that chain somewhere, whether it be not literally just beadsing, so you can go ahead and not get hit by something, or Aegising, so you can just stop the damage altogether. Either way, you definitely do need to be careful. You can't let Amrei just to go ahead and keep hurting you, especially since he picked up Heartseeker now. It really is just going to be a good
Oh, have
feeling
they
power
caught
spike for him.
Amrei here, though? No, they haven't. Just about gets away, does the Ulla. As the 4 members of Team Toxic were circling that one, and they have to be a priority target right now. Level 20 with a lot of big damaging items online. Wouldn't surprise me
Yeah.
to see them at top of the player damage chart very, very shortly. Pyromancer being cleaned up by the Ravenous Reapers. Fire Giant is going to be spawning again soon, and that's going to be the target here for the Reapers, isn't it, Panda? They're looking to set up here, take
Yeah.
this Fire Giant, and then who knows, a charge down for one of the Phoenixes.
Yeah, especially with these Oni Fury waves just charging down the respective lane, the side lanes. But I definitely do want to focus the graph because as you said earlier, it tells a story, and I think that story is heartbreak. I mean, if you look, you see a peak for Team Toxic, a little dip, and then a big dip, and then just like a low staircase coming down to a 6K gold lead, which is just it feels rough looking at this, but a 6K gold lead is really nothing when we're talking 20 minutes in. It feels rough. You know, you are definitely fighting at a deficit. There's no question about it. But you aren't down and out. It is not like a 10K gold lead. You aren't fighting from such a deficit. You can't fight. Ravenous Reapers do need to be conscious because Team Toxic can, and as it looks, will be positioning around this Fire Giant.
They certainly will. And Team Toxic, as you say, are fighting from a position of weakness, and it's all really come just from losing one team fight. But this
Yeah.
is where the mentals really get tested. Ravenous Reapers do have themselves a lead, item, gold, XP, you name it, they've got it. But now they need to put it into practice and convert it into something big like a Phoenix or a Fire Giant. The Fire Giant is being started up, but I think there's maybe a bait, Panda.
It almost has to be. I mean, Uller at one point, they didn't have much damage on it. Circle Protection dropped on it a bit early. It looks like they are committing to this, but they have to be careful when they drop it. Circle Protection is down. That's a huge ultimate, as it looks like a fight does break.
Big damage though onto Noonan as Mike punishes that one as overstepped. Did the Nemesis, and Team Toxic have potentially seen a little window into this team fight. Huffy's in the backline, no, pounding the ground, doing the damage. Yu Huang has to get away from things. Timzo does use the shell to escape those those Kabrakan walls. But just like Azov is slashing up the backline, cleans away Kino, and they're not finished with that one yet. Terra Timza does get finished off by Amrei though, and now it's Thomas Flop against Amrei in a 1v1, but no, over comes the Yu Huang, huge damage, and Thomas Flop does pick up Amrei, and this one isn't over. Team Toxic have completely turned it around. That's 4 members down, and now they might potentially be looking at Fire Giant. They may not quite have the damage just yet, though, as there's a few members about to respawn, and if they needed something, Panda, they just got it, did Team Toxic.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Team Toxic, that is the mental boost I need. 100%. I am back in this game. I am literally, if I am Thomas, if I am Azza, I am telling my teammates, we are going to win this game at no matter the cost. I do not care. We just won that fight so handily. We can win this game. We know what we can do. So they're going to execute so well on it. So Team Toxic are definitely going to be playing at their top abilities because players play best when they think they're at their best, even if they're not.
Yeah.
Which sounds weird.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
You get it, yeah.
But I think one thing that happened in that last team fight was something that we touched upon earlier. So Huffy might get caught here. Look at the damage from that Yu Huang. Absolutely enormous, but look at the retaliation damage. Huffy does fall, but at the cost of Thomas Flop. And yeah, I think in that last team fight, we saw Azza just slashing their way through the backline of Ravenous Reapers. And is that something we touched upon earlier? Is there enough peel from the Reapers to stop the likes of Azza getting to the backline?
So a really big problem is the fight for Ravenous Reapers was very split. It was a 3-2 split, which just didn't really feel nice. For Team Toxic, they
Aza caught though,
They
takes so much damage. Aza's going to fall here as Kino does get the final hit onto that one. Team Toxic now 2 members down, 3 against 2 with a deficit. This is, you know, real chasm between the potential in both these team fights now. Fire Giant is being started up by the Ravenous Reapers. I don't think this one's a bait. I think they're looking to burn this down quickly while they know not
yeah,
all
they
members of Team
do.
Toxic are alive. There's a small window of an opportunity to steal. Timza decides not to go through that window and does decide to retreat, and that's a big pickup for the Ravenous Reapers, Panda.
Mhm. Yeah, it really is. That's just off of a one pick. That's exactly how the Ravenous Reaper's been playing. That is the pick you need to take out. Uh, as seen in the last fight, it was a split fight. Team Toxic fighting into it. Originally, it wasn't that great for them. When going against the pick-oriented comp, you want to play front to back, just so you are just literally grouping together and absolutely killing whoever is in front of you. But it ended up working out because Azza has so much damage with his build, his Glad Shield, and with how many abilities he has. He's able to burn down any backliner. And the problem is Kino just didn't have enough cooldowns. Literally, he was hitting his abilities and didn't have enough cooldowns to stop anything. So that's where you do need to play together, because if that does happen again, Azza's going to be chunking even more, and he's going to be even harder to kill with Bluestone Brooch now being upgraded. So you are going to have to be conscious of how you fight now, because Ravenous Reapers can't just fight like they've been fighting. Otherwise, Azza will literally just tear up that backline.
Yeah, and we see the build on Huffy, actually. They have gone fully down the damage route, not a single shred of a defensive item in that. And Ravenous Reapers help themselves to Pyromancer, Primal Fury, and now the Oracles as well. And we see those graphs, the gold XP graph, looking like a little bit of a roller coaster at the moment. Up and down, up and down. It is starting to go back in the way of Ravenous Reapers, though. But as we've shown so far, just one misplay from the Ravenous Reapers, despite their lead. If you open that window for Team Toxic and they can get to that backline, it's not quite as safe as it seems. And Team Toxic are just one good team fight from being back in this.
Yeah, they really are. And Ravenous Reapers definitely did approach some power spikes. Team Toxic definitely did pick up some really good items. Thomas has that Heart Seeker, Azza has that Spear Robe and Bluestone Brooch now. Protector Jungle also online. It was online last fight, but it's going to feel even better, especially with these jungle cores being even more present. Zats has the Step of Mirrodin, which is a huge power spike for all mages. It is so much damage. He's honestly going to be feeling really nice now. So Team Toxic aren't in a bad spot. They are still sitting on some power spikes, like in Mike's case, but they aren't at too much of a deficit where it feels just so bad.
Yeah, and they have got defensive work to do here, though, as they, of course, have Ravenous Reapers on one side with the Fire Giant, and on the other side, they've got a Trebuchet chipping away at that Tier 2 tower. So the longer this fight goes on in left side, the more at threat that Phoenix is on right. Big damage coming out, though. There's a Whirlwind of Major Steel, doesn't get 2, but does get 2 people's beads. Noonan has to dash away as they take a lot more damage than they initially thought. Yuhuang really putting out the damage here now. Huffy takes a lot of damage, though, and this Phoenix is still not down yet. As Thomas Flock going to go in? No. The initial thought was to chase after Huffy, but then maybe they thought it's probably not the best idea to jump into 5. Phoenix does remain up, though. Ravenous Reapers still looking for that opportunity. Perhaps it's there, though, as Thomas Flock gets deleted by a combination of Noonan and Huffy, and the burst damage from this Cabrakan is absolutely enormous. 4 members of Team Toxic are looking to hard retreat now. Ravenous Reapers divert their pursuit over towards the middle Phoenix. They're looking to take this one down as well. That Tier 2 tower on right is still standing strong. Hasn't been quite chipped away yet by the Trebuchet, though, but that Phoenix is made short work of in the mid lane. Ravenous Reapers have got 2 Phoenixes and are now looking to back, and that base is now fully broken there, Panda.
Yeah, I mean, they only have this Phoenix in this right lane, which, if you're Ravenous Reapers, it's the best Phoenix to not take. Because, especially around this Fire Giant, you can just push up those waves and feel just fine, because you're pushing up to the Fire Giant pit. That's exactly where you want to be. With taking it all the way in left lane, with taking it in mid lane, they do have to make some time to travel in order to go ahead and contest this Fire Giant. Ravenous Reapers had the Fire Giant fall off, weren't able to touch the Titan any bit, but set them up in an insanely nice position. Mike definitely just got his power spike within this Death's Temper, so he's now feeling quite nice, but maybe it's just too little too late.
Yeah, I was looking at that Charybdis build, I'll be honest with you, Panda, and I'm thinking the spikes have been small and spread out because
Yeah,
I'm assuming that's going to be a Silver Branch to round that build off. And
yeah.
yes, don't get me wrong, when that Silver Branch is online, Mike is going to hit hard. But did Team Toxic need Mike to hit hard about 10 minutes ago?
I also think so. Yeah, you Odysseus bow is such a good item on Cryptus. There's no doubt about it. But with how much gold I know Mike has, you could have easily just got a 6 item, and you feel the exact same. You feel the exact same with having it as a tier 2. Honestly, I mean, he should have been able to.
Thomas Flopp's caught lazy back in though, and if they die here, that is going to be a massive, massive mistake from the member of Team Toxic as Noonan does punish Thomas Flop. And the last thing you need in a situation like this is a punch yourself in the face, which is effectively what Thomas Flop has just done. Lazy back in, caught by Amray, and that is disappointing, Panda.
Yeah, it really is. Fire Giant is gone. They can't step up. They have to make an immaculate base defense coming up from Team Toxic. And making that base defense against an enhanced Fire Giant, it doesn't feel great, especially when you have two Phoenixes down. You literally can't let them get on this Titan. Because if they do, it's gone. There is no world where Ravenous Reapers doesn't get onto this Titan and just win the game with how much damage they have. They have a full damage Kabrak, and they have a Thoth. They have so much damage that is AoE, you're just pierces through the enemy.
Yeah, and this right side Phoenix is looking mighty small right now, with 4 members of Ravenous Reapers on one side, and Nemesis looking to flank on the back. She has just safely guided those 5 minions through to the throne room, and there's 2 waves making their way in now, and Ravenous Reapers have got the Titan in their sights. They maybe just need 1 or 2 picks here from Team Toxic to see this one over the line and take game number 1. But Team Toxic, they're all still alive. That's one thing they have got going for. If he goes in, does get sent back away by King Arthur. Was that a Whirlwind of Rage and Steel I saw there? Yes, it was. Doesn't connect with anybody. A bit of damage fired back from Clino.
Again.
And this one, a bit of a standoff. Big ult off the table over the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel being down. Titan has taken a few little hits of health. Ravenous Reapers look like they're going to play the safe game here, Panda, and take that left side Phoenix. Could they be more forceful here and force their way in, or are they doing the right thing?
They definitely should just be more forceful. With how much damage they have, with how much the Fire Minions are doing to this Titan, I honestly think they just walk into it. As soon as a fire wave gets into the throne room, you walk into it. As soon as one fire brute minion sets their foot into the throne room, you just go and dump all your damage onto this Titan because it's not surviving it. Period.
Yeah, and this may not survive it much longer either, as it's taken a decent amount of damage already. Have the members of Team Toxic, the Titans getting hit now as well. There's the walls that trap Mike in. Charybdis underneath though, into the moor to safety, but this Titan is going to go down, and Ravenous Reapers are going to take game number 1, and they did exactly what Panda said, and they forced their way into that throne room and just charged that Titan down with the damage they had in the bank. But we promised you a good game, Panda. Were you happy with what you saw from your European Smite?
It was a 35-minute game. It was back and forth, and I had fun. What more could I ask? I mean, I could ask, maybe some cool confetti sound effects, I guess.
Well, let's have a look at the players that we've just seen, because that wasn't a game that was one-sided in any way. It was very, very close for a good 15 minutes. We saw one team fight go against Team Toxic, which unfortunately was almost a catalyst for the remainder of the game. Really, they almost clawed it back though with that big fight over at Fire Giant. But is it harsh to say that a big turning point in that was losing your jungler to a lazy back, or was the writing already on the wall for Team Toxic?
Was there's an argument for both sides. There's arguments that Tom's lazy back there is definitely a very rough thing. It doesn't feel great for team mental. So no matter what, in that situation, you're always gonna have the jungler is always gonna feel rough. You're always gonna be kicking yourself in the foot. You're always gonna be down on yourself in that situation, no matter what. But also, the writing was already on the wall. You were 2 Phoenixes down. Fire waves nearly pushing in. Fire Giant hadn't even spawned yet. So by the time Fire Giant spawns, either you're having to send one person push back out these fire waves, meaning that you're already fighting a 4v5. So you're at the same position when your jungler is dead. And you have to be conscious of where things go, because having a person in left lane it tells, literally just tells their team that they can fight.
Yeah. Well, with this being a live game, unfortunately, it would be great to sit and analyze it for a good few minutes, but I know that game 2 is probably underway very, very soon. So we will take a very short break, and then we will be right back for game number 2 of Team ToxicC against Ravenous Reapers.
of photographs, a can of worms you brought upon yourself. Forgot.
Welcome back, everybody. You are here for game number 2 between Ravenous Reapers and Team ToxicC. Picks and bans are underway. But Panda, what do we need to see here from Team ToxicC for this to turn this round from the first game? What do you want to see in terms of picks? Is there anyone that they should maybe repick, or anyone that you'd like to see just swapped out?
Personally, I'd love to see King Arthur again. I would love Team ToxicC to go back under this King Arthur now that they are chaos side. They can definitely second pick it. This Yu Huang did a lot of damage, but this Cabrakan they need to get rid of. That was terrorizing their backline. Although he had a rough middle game, that's exactly what that pick's designed to do. I mean, that pick is with its current build, it is telling you I am having a rough middle game, but I have a great early and a great late game, and you can't stop it. With Amu's and Cap being banned, followed up by a Lancelot. Nothing too out of the ordinary. These are traditional bands with this Capri coming in, so it's feeling good.
What do you make of Lancelot, Panda? Because I'm not convinced by him in solo. He does okay in jungle, but not too good in solo.
So pretty much, I don't really think he's
even
like a
gods must heed the scales of fate.
super good god in solo. He definitely has the capabilities, but honestly, within the current meta, as a bonus, within this current meta, the build that you do go, the build of
Evil doesn't
Solar
stand a
Gladiator
chance.
really favors him, and it feels really good on him. But the jungle capabilities are also just really dangerous because he has so much damage in that kit. I mean, just putting down the jousting field and just literally spearing through you. I mean, he has so much that he can hit you with that is just
Take
easy
pleasure in the
damage.
crushing of
You
one's
need to be
enemies.
careful of it.
And we've seen the Kabrakan banned away, but it is actually by the team who picked him in the last game. And ESET has been picked up by Team
I will
Toxic.
leave standing
And there's a
no
Ganesh
barrier
being
to
picked up
our
here as
success.
well. Ganesh against Yumiya. That's going to be an interesting one because Yumiya can certainly control the flow of the games if they're on point with their walls and freezes.
Yeah, they definitely can. Thoth ban being brought out, I agree with this. Having a good ban. An Uller ban, another good ban. I agree with. Two target bans that we saw. Two characters that we saw last game on the side of Ravenous Reaper. So this feels nice. Team Toxic.
Death comes by
Having
night.
their Cupid and Chernobog being banned out, but picking up this X Blanque. So I do want to talk about two picks. They picked this Bologna and now this X Blanque. Bologna is a lot of pressure, literally in the lane, and in team fights if she doesn't get dogpiled in
Who
lane.
will
So she
rise
has to
above
be
the
careful
rest?
of that, but she can provide so much damage and so much team fights capabilities with her ultimate and the simple ability. It also shuts down this nemesis and whatever hunter they end up picking, because you do tend to go more auto attack focused on a hunter, even if you are a full ability based hunter like Uller, you're still gonna want to auto attack.
Look
So it does
into
feel really
my
nice.
eyes.
And Bologna into a nemesis is always favorable for Bologna, but this Medusa is being picked up, which is very interesting. I don't know if that's what I would have picked up. I definitely think there's other gods I would have preferably picked up, but it definitely can work a lot of damage within that character. And X Belanque doesn't match up the best into it, but he also doesn't have a bad matchup into it. So I definitely think that lane's going to be a stalemate. As Team Toxic is just deciding what they're going to pick, what would you want to see?
Well, I'm trying to figure out where the members of Ravenous Reaper is going to be going. I'm assuming that's going to be a Ravana solo. If Nemesis
Yeah.
is going to be in the jungle, that's going to be a Ravana solo. So Ravana into Bologna, I don't think that's too bad of a matchup for Bologna, if I'm truthfully honest
No.
with you. So I'm assuming that this is the jungle that they're sort of looking up here. So you'd want to be picking something that plays quite well into Nemesis. They originally hovered the Arachne. That's not a terrible matchup for Arachne, for Nemesis, actually. Arachne is a bit of a tricky one because if they fall behind, they really struggle. I
They
think
aren't playing the game.
Pella may be the answer here. I think this Pella pick is a
Yeah.
good pick into this Nemesis because
Yeah.
burst damage Pella can get in and out, whereas Nemesis obviously requires the fight to continue
Yeah.
to get a damage off. But I'm looking at this draft here, and I'm just struggling to see where this Xbalanque fits in. I don't know about you, Panda, but they seem the odd one out here.
It definitely is. I mean, there's a lot of pressure. A Yeah, it definitely is interesting. X Blanque definitely has an interesting matchup with these gods on their team, but also into the gods on the enemy team. So I definitely do think that it is not terrible. I definitely think X Blanque is gonna fit in all right. He is a plug and play type of character. Is it gonna feel rough? Are you gonna have to watch out for all these for everything? You're gonna have to be careful because your ultimate isn't gonna be the best in these fights. Yeah, but you are an Xbalanque. You will still have that damage. You will still have everything you need to.
Okay, then, and as we get ready to go into game number 2, I'm going to ask you, Panda, have Team Toxic done enough in the draft there, you think, to wrestle this back and take us to a game number 3?
I think so. One, they have an E set. In mid, I'm assuming. It's almost confirmed. So they are out confirming literally anyone on Ravenous Reapers easily. So they have more presence during objectives within fights. They have a clear dive and peel. So they aren't worrying about being split up. They can play front to back. So that's the problem solved. And Ravenous Reapers dive has a really hard time just getting to the carries, whether it be from their own self peel or with this Ganesha and Bologna.
Yeah, and one problem we saw for the Reapers in game number 1, which, okay, they won game number 1, but it was a problem at certain stages of the game, was maybe not enough peel at the backline.
Yeah.
Is that a problem they potentially face again with having the Ravana in their solo lane?
Yeah, They have to be careful. Ymir is a very dive-heavy character, so he's not gonna. He can peel. He's very good at it. He has the walls. He's the freeze. But when you have a Pele on the field, you need to be careful because she will delete your backline, especially if it's just a Discordia or Medusa. Both can disrupt Pele's ultimate. That's if she doesn't beads, or if she doesn't look away in Medusa's case, or if she just doesn't get hit by the apple. You have to be careful because this Pele pick will just shred your backline, and you can't do too little too late.
No, certainly not. And if I was Pele, I'd be looking at isolating that Discordia because
Yeah,
that's a very quick fight, isn't it? And that's not a
yeah,
fight Discordia is going to have much of a fun time with. Maybe that's what Jablonka is in this draft for, Panda. Maybe that
yeah.
darkness, that brief moment of you can't see what's coming, maybe the emerging
That's
from the darkness is going to be that volcanic lightning taking the form
as
of Pele. That
yeah.
maybe
As a
maybe maybe
carry,
I've
I
been
am
too
scared.
harsh there actually.
As a carry, I just kind of I was thinking through that, and I was like, okay, what works well with an X Blanque? I was like, wait a minute, Pele just literally can ult from outside that range. As a carry, I am an ADC main. I am scary. Like I am scared of this X Blanque Pele combo because I will just die. I will not have a choice. I will not see this Pele just coming onto me.
Yeah, absolutely, and Ganesh is something I want to sort of point out here as well because
Mhm.
Nemesis and Ravana they're going to be looking to get in and do their damage. But if you've got a Ganesh and you just catch that dash at the right time as Nemesis, they are in
Yeah,
a really tricky position, aren't they?
yeah,
They are almost stuck, up a paddle, up a creek without a paddle, should we say? And
yeah.
if you're reset and there's a Ganesh there for protection, who is Nemesis going to be trying to target here? Because it's tough.
I'm not too sure. I think you have to target this X Belanque. Um, I I'm not too sure though. There's not really a good target for Nemesis to target because ESET just shreds her, takes her down so easily, and X Belanque just uses his CC immune dash and gets out of there easily.
Yeah, we are almost ready to go into game. And I will run you through the teams as we are in game number 2, where Team Toxic are looking to turn around a first game deficit and take us to a game 3. So, for the order side, for the Ravenous Reapers, over in the solo lane, we will have Huffy, who will be playing Ravana, not something we've seen too much of in the solo lane lately. In the jungle, Noonan will be picking up this Nemesis once again alongside Hayus, who is on the Discordia. And making up the duo lane. That is quite a formidable early duo lane partnership in Kino 92 on the Yamiya and Amare, who will be on the Medusa. For the Chaos side, Team Toxic, who are looking to win this one, we will have just like Aza, who will be on the Bellona in the solo lane. Thomas Flop has switched out Ratataska and picked up Pella, and Zat has stolen the E-set away from Ravenous Reapers and will be playing them in the mid lane. And then finally, making up the duo lane for Team Toxic, we will have Terra Timza on the Ganesh and Mike27R, who will be on the Shablonke. And Panda, I want to touch upon Mike27R actually, because we didn't see too much come out from the Hunter in game number 1. They can't really afford to have such a slow start in this game either, can they? They need to be alive and kicking quite quickly.
They definitely do need to be. It is something that needs to happen. They aren't in the best of positions, but with this pick, it is a good mid game pick. It definitely can coast to the early game and get online immediately. No problem there. Especially with just how the pick functions, good damage within all of his abilities. Arias electing for a bit of an interesting start though. Going for this Bluestone and what I can only assume is a Transcendence, and that's telling me that they're going more ability based. I don't think that if you aren't going ability based, you go Bluestone because it has no merit. There's a lot of things in the ability based build that works well with Bluestone. So going this attack speed build with Bluestone is just going to hurt your build.
Yeah, we saw Amray last game with the ult did go fully into the ability-based tree, not looking too much for attack speed or crit or anything like that, and they did pretty okay in the ult. Can they replicate that on Medusa though, who usually you do perhaps need a little bit of attack speed and stuff
Yeah.
in there, of course, because a lot of her one of her abilities certainly requires heavily on basic attacks. Big freeze coming out from Kino onto Terra though, but that is not going to result in a kill. And what are you expected to see from this solo lane early on, as we potentially see the first kill of game here? It's just like Aza is looking to close down Huffy. But they don't manage to get the kill. And this is going to be a difficult early game for Huffy against a Bologna, especially if they fall down early.
Yeah, it definitely will be. So I think for the first 2 items or so, this is what you're going to be saying. You're going to be seeing Huffy fall behind, fall low, just because Azza has more damage, especially considering their first backs. Azza's going to have a much better first back than Huffy, because Huffy is going to have to build up that Slayer. He is going to have to stack it. No matter what, he's going to have a better first back. As a bit of a jungler fight does break out.
It certainly is, and it's going the way of Thomas Flop at the moment. We saw a lot of action in this section of the map in game number 1, and it's looking to be replicated as well, as Thomas Flop does the old bait and switch and blinks back to safety, and Ravenous Reapers do manage to actually secure their blue, which they didn't do for a lot of game number 1. Maybe they have recognized, as we see a big freeze coming out from Kino onto 2, but there's not enough damage from Amray to finish it off, and Team Toxic do back away, no kill on the board. And do you think this is a result of game number 1, Panda, that the Team Toxic knew that Ravenous Reapers kept targeting that blue buff, that they have locked down the defenses this time?
Yeah, they definitely knew. And they even went for their own blue buff invade there, so they definitely are prepared. They definitely knew what the they definitely knew what Ravenous Reapers wanted to do there, and they said, well, if you're gonna try and do it to us, we'll just show you how it feels. And it works out. It doesn't, they don't get the invade, but they definitely do get the pressure. It feels real nice for them, so they aren't in a terrible spot. And the map honestly favors Team Toxic. It is a very slight 500 gold lead for them, which is already showing me that Team Toxic is just farming better, period.
Yeah, because we've no kills on the board, so it can only come from those rotations. And of course, if you are in that solo lane, you are just like Aza. You've got the advantage over Huffy, certainly until a couple of items are online. We know the strength of Bologna, especially with that Death's Toll start. So they have to capitalize, don't they? They have to make this pressure. And doing things like invading that blue buff, that's the right thing to do. That's what they got to do. And that's how they get themselves ahead. As we see, once again, a couple of attacks being traded over the dual lane, but I don't think they're going to get a kill too much here, though, especially with a no mana Yamiya just walking forward into danger. So yeah, Panda, the longer this game goes on like this, where there isn't anyone gaining too much of a lead, does that favour the Ravenous Reapers, considering their comp?
Some parts, yes, it does favor them. Letting this Ravana solo coast into the late game is honestly a dream for him. Sure, he'd like to be ahead, but he's with his build path, he's going to be just fine just coasting into this late game. But it is going to feel rough for this pick like Medusa, because Mike just scales better. The attack speed build on a pick like Xblanque is just going to scale much better. As Noonan is looking for a blue buff invading, does get it.
Do get it as well with the slice and dice. The Eagles rally didn't quite connect either, and Ravenous Reapers have gone back to what they were doing in game 1, invading. As we see a Petrify come out onto Terra Timza, and now Medusa finds himself in a lot of trouble as a Dharmic Pillars catches them, and Mike27R says thank you very much. Terra Timza gifts that one over to their ADC, and Team Toxic get first kill on the board.
Great play by Team Toxic. Thomas coming in there, great rotation, great Dharmic Pillars. But I can't help but laugh, because Mike, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but Mike was just standing next to Terra, making sure that Thomas could never actually get that kill, because Andre was just in the Dharmic Pillars. So
were they doing the whole 1 foot slightly in front so it goes to me kind of thing?
He was right next to him. There was no world if Ganesh gets that kill that Thomas gets it, which is hilarious.
I mean, ADCs and junglers, they're the most... They all want the glory and the kills.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
of course, they're going to fight for it. That is just in their nature. But that's a good early kill to get for Team Toxic because, you know, Medusa does have a lot more strength early on than Xbalanque for sure. And being behind is not somewhere you want to be as i23CarraGold, is it? Considering, you know, how game number 1 went for them. So, yeah, big kill and a result that they needed. As we see Noonan now making a rotation over here. There's a slice and dice and a divine judgment potentially brewing in the works here for somebody. Thomas Flop is here as well, though. We're getting a lot more action in this duo lane than we had in game number 1. The two junglers slowly start a little fight, but it is walled off. Dharmic Pillars as well, and both supports get involved and break up the fight like a parent separating two toddlers, and everyone defaults back to their positions.
Yeah, Thomas aggressing even more, though. They're looking at this. They get it. They get the purple buff.
They did with the steal as well, and that's frustrating for Ravenous Reapers because they look like they were in full control of that. And once again, we see another fight over here for another buff, and it seems like both people are just waiting for the other person to get the last hit. As we see a shards of ice exploding as Noonan and TerraTimza trade kills, as Team Toxic do pick another one up, and we actually see a kill on a Ganesh. Ganesh has a kill on the board, Panda.
I am scared.
What is going on?
If I'm Ravenous Reapers, I am scared. The last thing you want is a Ganesh with a kill. That means he's feeling himself. That means Terra is going to be just a monster. I feel like all Ganesh players, this is an objective fact and no one can change my mind. Ganesh players just turn into an actual monster if they get a kill.
So next item, rings.
Physically.
Rings.
Next item, rings. I am the damage now.
Yeah, it's like a taste for blood, isn't it? They've got a taste of it, and they go, actually, yes, this is for me. As we see TerraTimza still over in the left side jungle, just stealing everything they can. And maybe you're right, maybe they are. They're going for it now. They've filled up their obelisk, actually, so they will have a trebuchet charging down one of the lanes very, very shortly. And yeah, we're at that stage again, Panda, where not too much has happened. It's slowed down a little bit, and this favours Ravenous Reapers, doesn't it? As we see Huffy, who has baited Aza in with the back. Slice and Dice comes in as well now, as Noonan is over here as well. But this Bologna is just so tanky. 2 levels ahead. There's almost nothing happening to it here. Does fall a little bit low, but just walks away, and that's a win for Team Toxic, isn't it? Because Noonan has come all the way over here and got nothing for it.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Team Toxic, like if I'm Azza, I'm just calling it out like, hey, Nemesis is in my lane, guys. Just so you know, don't rotate over. Literally, just farm better, and that's what they're doing. I mean, we're seeing Thomas not worry about it, not worry about rotating over because he just doesn't have to. Period. So he's in this nice spot where he's not scared at all, and it allows him to put pressure in other lanes. But with him going over to this long lane, it does open up for a blue buff invade, just going away cleanly over to Ravenous Reapers.
Yeah, they may not have got the kill onto Bologna, but they did get their blue buff as a big freeze comes out from Kino. And we're seeing a lot more action in this short lane than we did in game number 1. Probably more in the entire game. As a Petrify goes into the back of Thomas Flop and Amray. I think Bluestone got that kill, you know, and I am sure Bluestone finished that one off. So it finally does get a bit of value. Noonan picks up a kill onto i23CarraGold as well. Another big freeze though from Kino, and Noonan gets a double kill. And Team Toxic, seemingly for position of strength at the start of that fight, just let it slip away, and now they may lose a Gold Fury as well. But TerraTimza is over here. The Ganesh with a kill is on the scene. He's looking for the steal. Is he looking for more kills? Is the ultimate available? No, it's not quite yet available. So they will have to back away and let the Reapers take that. And that was a big turnaround from how that fight started, Panda.
Yeah, it all starts with Thomas being picked there. As enough following the rotation, and it's pretty much it's what you want. I mean, following their rotations are really just a death sentence. But you do have to be careful if you are Ravenous Reapers, because you are letting this Bologna just kind of do whatever she wants. I mean, she's now a level ahead. She was just able to invade a bit of the jungle and the enemy blue buff. So she is in a better position than she was just a tiny bit ago. And also, Team Toxic, I mean, as much as this gold lead just faltered, you know, as much as they just got a spike, you know, as good as it feels, the Ravenous Reapers aren't really in the lead. They have a 700, maybe 1,000 at most gold lead. You know, so it is a point of position where you can't play like you are ahead of your Ravenous Reapers. You have to play like you're even now. You have to be careful. You have to pick your fights in a smart way, because if you don't, then you are just going to get shredded. This Pele did just get the Hydras, meaning it's a very big power spike. Zats almost has this Warlock staff fully stacked, and Mike does have this Transcendence fully stacked. And Omre is going into this ability-based build, which is very, very interesting. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. I definitely think you really do need a Fail Knot in Medusa with it.
He
That's,
picks up Mike27R just as you were slagging them off, Panda. They go and get themselves a kill. Thomas Flop is on the scene though, and they have got this snake in their sights. The snake does dash away, but Thomas Flop continues the pursuit, and the volcanic lightning makes quick work of that Medusa. And now we see Ravenous Reapers looking to help themselves to Pyromancer. I don't think this is quite a safe Pyromancer, just like Azza is close by, but I don't think they're going to get here quick enough, and Ravenous Reapers do pick it up. But yeah, both hunters going down. Amre, that's the problem we spoke about at the start, isn't it? If Pele gets close to this Medusa, it's going to be a short fight.
Yeah. I mean, Amre is not going to be feeling good with Pele in the current state she's in. She's a level behind Noonan, and she still is able to delete you, just because of that. That's how the pick works. That's what she wants, and that she's going to do. And you need something to defend against it. You need something to stop it. You need some burst damage. So although you get a solo kill on Mike, sure, it feels all right. You have to be conscious. You need to get these wards up to make sure Thomas isn't just going to get a return kill right on you.
Mike and Amre we see going at it once again, and Mike has gone down the Transcendent Assy routes. They will have enough power, they will have enough lifesteal, so I don't think we're going to see what we saw in game normal, where it just took a bit of a time for Mike to get that damage on the board. They're going to be cooking already, aren't we? And that is something that we mentioned earlier on. So big things needed from Mike here. But we see, just like Azza and Huffy, and I think, considering it's a blown into Ravana, I think Huffy's done well here to not let this lane slip away.
Yeah, he definitely has. He's a little behind, but it doesn't feel too bad. You know, it's not a terrible lead. He is getting bursted down, but he's playing it quite nice. He's playing it as he should. Volcanic Lightning coming out and Petrify coming.
Oh, Dharmic Pillars on point, though. And Thomas Flop gets gifted that kill, and this Ganesh has got absolutely a taste for blood in this game, and that's the second kill gifted. And on top of the kill they've already got, Huffy does the jukes, though, and just like Azza finds himself in a bit of a tricky situation now as they're being chased through the jungle, not only by a Discordia, but by Ymir as well. The Eagles rally is not available, so they're going to have to do it the old-fashioned style in tricks and slips and jukes, and they're doing their best, and they're almost out of it. He sets over here in the form of Zats as well, firing out those spirit balls to catch someone out. Doesn't do so, but as it gets away from that one, and Noonan's on the retreat as well, as they get locked into a fight with Ganesh. Again, how many times are we going to be mentioning this? Can we see the player damage? Because I want to see where this Ganesh is sitting on this. Only 4,000. Disappointing. Expected a lot more. But a tower does fall on left side, and Mike is starting to gain control of that lane.
Yeah, it definitely does feel nice for him. So with the build path that this Medusa is going, he is going to naturally have a bit more of pressure within these first two items, but going in this third and fourth item, Mike will naturally hit a better power spike, because usually you are going Silver Branching Kin size. Blink Rune is picked up from Noonan, which interesting.
Yes, I was thinking that myself. Yes,
I don't think there's a world where you like a second item Blink Rune, like a second relic Blink Rune feels like great. Like I would like at that point I would have rather had a Horrific, because like you've played without Blink this entire time. Why not add some self peel and some entrapment when you just Horrific just does what they need. But Blink is paying off.
Circuit protection out from Zats, but it's not going to be enough as Huffy picks up that one, catches the Eset out of position. Volcanic Lightning is being brewed up, does catch Noonan with a bit of damage. The Dharmic Pillars are out as well, ticking onto a few members, silencing Huffy, who was looking to jump onto that backline. Shard Device is being charged up, doesn't really connect with anybody though. Terra Timza is on the hard retreat, and does manage to escape from it. Thomas Flop takes a lot of damage though, and Amre capitalizes on that one. Mike27R is also fairly low, but the ability of Xbalanque allows him to escape from that one, and Ravenous Reapers are going to help themselves here, Panda, to an Oni Fury, and this is going to pull a lot of pressure across the map at only 15 minutes in.
Yeah, it really is. but Ravenous Reapers do need to be careful.
As looking to get involved, not going to be able to steal the Oni Fury away. All they do really is get into a fight with Noonan, which was more of a zoning mission from Noonan, really. And this is tricky spot now for Team Toxic because there's going to be Oni waves in all lanes. They can't group around for any potential fire giants that might be coming up.
Yeah, they are going to have to be careful, but they can clear them quite easily. We're still in a pseudo laning phase, although we're seeing a lot of grouping fights. It isn't like you're outside of the laning phase anymore. You're still somewhat in it. You're still returning to your lanes after these major fights to farm. So these Oni waves are going to be cleared up quite easily. Not as easily as it was if it was done even 2 minutes ago, but still, Ravenous Reapers getting this Oni Fury isn't the end of the world for Team Toxic. They are sitting just fine. But Kino in a dangerous position, getting that freeze out.
They certainly are. They want to help themselves to another trebuchet. They steal just about enough to top up their own. So they have achieved the mission they set out to do. Pyromancer is now. Team Toxic are circling around, potentially looking to take it. Huffy is here though, but fires out so much damage. Does that Discordia, catches 1 or 2 with the explosion, and now they have to back as well. So Ravenous Reapers have forced strong-armed their way into a territorial advantage over here for this Pyromancer, just like Azza has to retreat from the impending nemesis that is chasing in. Good silence for Ganesh though. There's Atomic Pillars, and Thomas Flop does fall. So much damage coming out from this Discordia, just like Azza goes down as well now. Noonan and Ravenous Reapers are really starting to win these team fights, and after they've won the team fights, Panda, they're taking objectives, and this is how you snowball into the lead.
Yeah, it really is. The problem for Team Toxic is they're just taking these bad fights, and they took it. They took one around the gold tree. They were split up, took the fight. They were split up again around this Pyromancer, and then took the fight. I mean, Thomas did die with ult up. He did have a way out. Azza is in. I just think there just needs to be more effective communication going on from Team Toxic, because it seems like that the communication's a bit off. I'd also like to see Mike just farm a bit more, because he does need to get up the penetration, because he just has none right now.
Yeah, and the tier 1 tower is going to fall very, very soon here in mid lane as Ravenous Reapers are starting to stretch their lead across the map now. They've taken the last couple of objectives, and now they're starting to spread that lead over into map objectives. Structures falling down. Fire Giant is going to be hovering up soon, and if, let's say hypothetically, Panda, that Team Toxic lose this next Fire Giant fight, how much danger are they in?
They're in a lot of danger. Because you're letting a bunch of picks that want to lead play with a lead. You are in a lot of danger. You have to be mindful. You have to step up at the scope trade, and you have to take a good fight. You can't just be taking these bad fights like they've been taking. They can't let people be picked off. But also, you need to try and hold out until Mike is able to get this kin size off. He doesn't have it online. He got the Odysseus post, so he has 10 flat penetration in his build right now. That is all the penetration he has.
Yep, and that is going to be a problem when Ymir is such a forceful presence at the front line of the Ravenous Reapers. If he can just take hits from your ADC, then that is not a good position to be in. So Huffy is Huffy is being caught here though. Damage coming out, but not really enough of it. And considering they were caught and 3 members were throwing out abilities there, that just didn't seem to do anything. No, not enough damage coming out at all from Team Toxic. Ravenous Reapers are just playing with their food here. This fight is going on a long, long time. So little is on the board here. Noonan may be out of position here, though. Klino is looking to chase down Terra Timza, and Team Toxic just back away with no real victory from that fight. And Ravenous Reapers have almost just pushed them back towards their own base, and now are in prime position to go and take Fire Giant, especially with this. This trebuchet mid lane. What do Team Toxic need to do here? Is it just pen? Do they just need pen Panda in their builds?
Yeah, they literally just need penetration. The only penetration.
Oh, Amray just blasts away too with a huge petrified triple kill for Amray. Thomas Flop is now terrified of this Medusa as they look to chase down, going for the quadra kill on the board for Amray. Timza is here as well. Are we going to see a pentakill? And they're just standing and letting it happen. Terra Timza chasing away. The tower's doing his defensive duty though. 1 or 2 members down, but Amray gets a pentakill. Deicide for Ravenous Reapers. There's a tier 2 tower on the way down as well. They may have to back first if they're going to look to take Fire Giant, or they may just run down mid lane. Huge plays from the Medusa though, Panda.
Yeah, very big plays. I mean, he just went large. He was able to get off his abilities. He got literally everything I wanted. Another thing I want to point out is he did kill the X-Blanc mid dash, which looked really cool because like it's just a stone statue floating in air as you see on.
Look at that, beautiful!
It's
absolutely
beautiful.
Looks like Captain America flying in.
It does. That's actually sick. It's just something I wanted to focus on. I noticed that while we were passing by, so I wanted to focus. I wanted to focus on it. It looked nice. I want to appreciate Amray's work with the pentakill. Just feels nice. It was set up by his team. He executed perfectly on it. He's in the lead now. He's feeling comfortable. He's a 3-level lead. He's doing just fine, and there's really nothing that you're scared of your Ravenous Reapers. You're playing with a lead. Huffy is nearing the build completion. Noonan is still going on his crit build, which is still a lot of damage, and there's 1 crit defense item on the side of Plain and Toxic. That does break out.
Dharmic Pillars out. Circular Protection does work though. Does put Zats back up to full health, but there's just no damage coming out from Team Toxic onto Ravenous Reapers. Amray gets another kill, and they are now chasing down Terra Timza in the backline. Huffy is just fighting with 3 members of Team Toxic, and they just can't do any damage to them. Team Toxic now on a hard retreat, and the end may be in sight here for Ravenous Reapers, Panda. They're in a strong position. Yeah. Can they end here? Can they push in?
They need to be careful. They could, but they need to be careful. They don't have Fire Giant, and also there's 3 towers up on the board with 2 Phoenixes. So that's already Titan already has a good chunk of health, and with at that point both members of Team Toxic responding in 15 seconds, it wouldn't be the correct call just to make that end call. I honestly think Ravenous Reapers are just making the best call, but they do need more people on zoning duty than just Amray actually.
Ravenous Reapers completely drop the Fire Giant and decide to go for just like Aza instead, but Aza has managed to get out of there. A little bit of golden bow damage coming out from Mike. Change between a few, but not really enough damage. They start the Fire Giant again, but now there's more members of Team Toxic. This isn't quite a safe Fire Giant, Panda. This is stealable. No. Maybe Ravenous Reapers recognize that and do actually drop it for a second time. Huffy goes in with a Mystic Rush into a few members. Shards of Ice is up, so is the Dharmic Pillars though. And on Noonan straight onto just like Asia, and that is a big target off the board already. Level 18 Bologna down. Terra Timza gets caught by a freeze, and Ravenous Reapers are just death-balling this right now. Rolling as a 4. Terra Timza falls down, and Team Toxic once again have to hard retreat, and they need to be very, very careful here because a couple of missteps and this game could well and truly be over. Amray looks to get a Petrify onto 1. Thomas Flop though says absolutely not. Amray, my turn now. Amray goes down. That's a big pick though, but not worth losing Fire Giant for.
That is coming in. He has the Circle of Protection. And he isn't going to drop
potential.
it.
100% on the board here. As Noonan falls down and Team Toxic steal it away! Huge play from Zats. Not only does he pick up the Nemesis as well to the Fire Giant, but Zats actually steals away the Fire Giant. Huge plays, and that, Panda, could well be just the little lifeline that Team Toxic need to stay into this game.
From a pentakill to a Fire Giant steal. Those are just 2 things I honestly did not think when I was starting this cast with you. I did not think I'd see either of those. I thought, okay, maybe a Fire Giant steal on the off occasion, but seeing both a pentakill and a Fire Giant steal with Circle of Protection in the same game, Circle of Protection is meant to just secure. It's meant to secure. You almost never see Circle of Protection steal away any thing just because of the nature of it. It's a giant circle that looks up with damage when you deal damage.
Yeah, I mean, I've cast probably 50 games. That's the first ever Penta I've cast. So yeah, we've been very lucky in the game that we've cast tonight. But the game is still ongoing. Mike 27 being chased down. There comes the Eagles rally, does stun Huffy, and they may have been lacking damage a couple of minutes ago, but they won't be lacking damage with this Fire Giant in hand, will Team Toxic. And maybe Ravenous Reapers, perhaps, you know, just like they've just been reminded that Team Toxic are still here, they're still alive and kicking, and a Fire Giant on a Pella, that's dangerous for your Discordia and Medusa. Your Yumi is going to have to be on point here. So yeah, what do Team Toxic need to do now then, Panda, to enforce that they are still here? This game is not quite over yet, because if they just sit back and let Ravenous Reapers resume where they left off, then it'll be over in just a few minutes time.
You need to show presence, no matter what, because like they're doing right now, they need to be doing what they are. They just need to be more connected. They need to be careful.
Yeah,
and
fully charged. Shards of Ice does damage, but Amray cleans away Thomas Flop. Zats falls down as well. And Team Toxic are falling quickly here now. Mike gets caught by the wall. Mike goes down as well as Hayus does fire back, and Amray gets another kill. And just like Azza is the last man standing on Team Toxic, is going to have to run away from all members of Ravenous Reapers who are chasing down. They've recognized that the prize here is the Phoenix that is sitting at half health in mid lane, and that is not what Team Toxic needed there, Panda, because they've not only lost probably their Phoenix, but they've lost their Fire Giant buff.
Yeah, they did lose the Fire Giant buff, but Team Toxic still have a tiny bit of hope. With how Taking the Titan is, they can hope that there is...
Oh, Ravenous Reapers. Looks like they're going for the end here, but just like Azza does pick up Amray, and if you were going to get any member of Ravenous Reapers there, Amray would have been the one that you wanted. This is going to have to be an enormous defense from Terratons are here to save this, though. They are going to reset it, though, so it is going to be a successful defense from now. Ravenous Reapers are going to retreat from this one, so Team Toxic survive by a thread, Panda. This one is tentatively hanging, but it's certainly not over.
It definitely is. Amray did die there, so that does feel really good if you're Team Toxic. That shuts down any chances of your Titan actually falling there with Dharmic Pillars on the ground, with Zats respawn and with everyone else respawning very shortly after. There is no world where Ravenous Reapers actually go for that end there and get it. I honestly think if they continue with that call, Team Toxic gets a full team wipe and just gets a free Phoenix, most likely in the mid one, and evens up the game and also allows them to just pull this Fire Giant, as Team Toxic has a really nice power spike now. So within this game, you know, this E-set had a lot of trouble because she has a lot of pen. I mean, Warlock, Staff, and Obshard, and Slaver a lot of pen, but she didn't have Staff of Mirrodin, which is a really core item on her right now with its passive, and how much damage it's able to make her ultimate do and heal. So Staff of Mirrodin is a huge pickup for Zats. I mean, it is providing such a huge power spike for him because of its passive, and if you don't know, its passive, in short, states once you place ultimate on ground, for a decreasing time, going from like 25% more damage, you just get more damage. You deal more damage flat out.
Yeah.
Increase. It's actually insane. It is a really good item. So it feels just fine, especially if Thomas does end up getting an item like this Magi's Revenge, where that if you do see someone in the circle of protection, it just gives that so much damage, you are bursting someone down. So Team Toxic are in a really nice spot because they do reach some really good power spikes.
Yeah, and they've got a couple of members now who've hit level 20, so that golden XP lead is almost, negligible now, isn't it? There's a point in the game when you're only so far ahead, and that has happened for a few members of Ravenous Reapers, but Fire Giant is just about to respawn. There it is, 15 seconds time, it will be enhanced. If Ravenous Reapers don't burn it down before then, I don't think they will, but they've certainly started it up. They may actually time this perfectly and get it just as it turns into Enhanced Fire Giant, which will be genius. No Zats on the scene to steal it this time, and it is actually going to be a fairly easy take of Ravenous Reapers, and I think Team Toxic may be disappointed they let that go so easily there, Panda. Oh, Mystic Rush into the backline, no, and now out comes the Darkest Night to try and just deter them a little bit, but no, this Ravana just slapping away. Amari does damage onto Thomas Lob as well. Noonan does get some damage off, and they just about escape as well. By the skin of their teeth. Mike is low as well, but they're just throwing out whatever damage they can. They do get the Aegis, but it's not going to be enough. Team Toxic, just 2 members left alive now, and it is the 2 frontline members. Ravenous Reapers, they have got their foot on the throat here, Panda. Do you think they can end? Is this over? Can they do this?
Yeah, I honestly think it's an end call. I mean, there's no Dharmic Pillars. There's so much damage. Hayus is on it. Huffy is on it. Omri doesn't get the kill on Azza. And it looks like this is going to be the end as we are approaching
It's going to be the end. Deicide for Ravenous Reapers. They do finally break down the persistent, the stubborn Team Toxic. They survived a Fire Giant. They survived a Pentakill. But one last Deicide they could not survive through, and Ravenous Reapers do take game number 2 to pick this one up with a clean 2-0 victory. And Panda, who is the standout for you there, aside from the obvious Medusa?
I honestly think right there you have to give props to Huffy. With how much pressure was in his lane, he goes deathless. He goes 1-0-13. Kino also feels really nice, going 1-0-21. So I honestly think their front line gave way to this Medusa. Omri played really, really nicely, but this front line really gave Medusa everything that she needed, and it just worked out really well for her. So I honestly think that Huffy and Kino have to be the ones. Like, if I had to peg an MVP besides Omri, it'd either be Huffy or Kino.
Yeah, I mean, we were fairly critical. Maybe critical is a harsh word, but we certainly questioned, the Ravana and the Cabrakan pick from Huffy in both games. But they completely proved us wrong, and that Mystic Rush at the end in that final team fight, that was the catalyst. That was huge. It was on to 3. It caused absolute panic, and from there, the rest of the team just followed up, and the communication seemed to be there for me from Ravenous Reapers. There was always follow up to the engages from the front line, and that's key, isn't it? Especially when you've got a Ymir, because those freezes, if you follow up, it's going to be kills.
Yeah, it is. It definitely a high communication within this front line. It really, really worked. I mean, it honestly seemed like Huffy and Kino were just calling out every single CC that they got. No matter what the CC was, even if it was a slow, I think Kino was calling that out. Just with how effective their communication looked, it worked out really well for them, and it ended up, just as you said, being the reason why they won. Huffy was able to get this Mystic Rush and was able to tell them, I got the Mystic Rush, go in, fight it, which is exactly what they did. And I honestly think Team Toxic had a chance there. They were just getting zoned out, very unfortunately.
Yeah, and it is difficult, of course, when you've got, the likes of Huffy and Klino in your face. It's so hard. And you have to say that I think it was just a really well executed game plan from Ravenous Reapers. They played their picks perfectly, and yeah, the front line were the key to that. The likes of Pella couldn't really get involved, but that's nothing against Thomas Flap. That's just really good play from the front line, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, the front line just executed at the highest level that they could. I I couldn't be more happy. I couldn't be more happy. I mean, they played just phenomenally. Not to say the Team Toxic didn't play great too. I mean, there was definitely moments where they played great. It just honestly seems like Ravenous Reapers just played better. Period.
Yeah, you say that there was moments, because there was a Fire Giant steal. There was the early game, because let's be honest, at the start of this early game with Terra Tims are over there just fragging out as Ganesh. It looked like it was a good start, but they rallied around, did Ravenous Reapers and carried it through, and we were promised 2 close games, and I think for a good 50 minutes of both of them, you could have split it down the middle. It was as close as they come. So has European Smite been redeemed for you now? Is that it?
I think it is. I think European Smite was already a. I honestly think this might be a bit of a hot take, but I think European Smite in its current state is better than North American Smite.
Wow, big words from Panda.
Yeah, big words.
Huge words, but words we want to see. But that is actually going to draw us to a close, because we do have another fixture this evening, and we of course don't want to leave our production running on too long. So we are going to wrap up there from the evening. So I want to say a huge thank you to everybody involved this evening, to both teams for putting on a show for us. Wonderful Penta, wonderful Fire Giant Steel, and giving us two really excellent games. Huge shout out to Panda for coming and getting involved with us, and obviously taking part in there. So you think you can cast, and of course shout out to the unsung hero on screen there, Judas Priestley, who was ran the production for this evening. But I'm going to give it over to Panda to sign out for this evening. What are you going to say, Panda, about your first experience working with Smite Night?
I think it was great, and you did mention some little so you think you can cast, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get right into the coaching portion of it. So we're gonna go right into that.
We are indeed. Scuba,
Yeah.
I believe
What's going on, everybody?
This is your moment to shine.
So, for those who missed the link, I have posted a link in there. You can rate how you felt that Chair 1, i23CarraGold, and PandaBearAsh in Chair 2 served you guys tonight as entertainment. I think they did pretty freaking well. So I'm gonna say this. I didn't see much to critique on. Again, I'm a viewer. I'm not a coach. There's only one slight thing. I felt that Penta that came out should have deserved way more energy. That was like, oh shit.
Fair. Like, it was a rabbit in headlights.
That is a curse word that deserves to be said. But for those viewers, if you're not sure about that link, I am the official Smite Discord moderator. I'm the lead. I'm the guy who kind of put together this competition. Everybody was gracious enough to lend me their services to allow casters to come in, stream for them, and participate. That link is just going to rate through. I only have your email in there so I can prevent duplicates, and I just need your Discord ID. I'll reach out to you if I'd pull you in a draw. It's just going to be an RNG draw. You could get a couple Smite codes. You could get $50 straight up from me. That'll be towards the end of this whole affair around October. I'm going to pull one or two people to win that. But yeah,
$50 is like $15 more than I have on my desk.
yeah, right.
So that's like that's like a good bit of money. Like, you know what you can buy with $50? You can buy like 50 things from the dollar store if tax didn't exist.
Hey, you could take your partner out for a nice dinner.
That's true too, but I am leaning towards the 50 things from the dollar store.
50 things from the dollar store
Yeah,
is highly
50 things
amusing
from the
to think
dollar
about.
store.
So,
Alright.
I am just going to ask
Yeah.
about how long do we have until the next game happens there, Judas? So, we don't know the exact result yet because it is still going live, but it is broadcast, so we have a little bit of time to ask a few questions, I feel. So, I heard that you were talking about EUNA stuff.
Yeah.
I just want to say it hasn't been fun scheduling for EUNA.
Yeah, we know. Don't worry.
Yeah.
when we put out casting posts to recruit casters for the league, we get so much interest from North America, and then we just get people say, "Oh, so when do your games start?" And we're like, "Yeah, like 4 in the afternoon for you." So unfortunately, it's usually when people are still at work. So yeah, we know fully the pain of trying to schedule those kind of things.
Yeah, about to say, how's it feel to cast early instead of late for once, there, Panda?
It feels good. I mean, I've gotten used to it because I've been casting in a few EU leagues. But truly, as someone who's casted in the North American leagues for nearly their whole career, it is different. Casting at 1 p.m. rather than like 8 p.m. for myself. I'm usually casting at like 7 p.m., 8 p.m., maybe 6 p.m. at the earliest, 9 p.m. at the latest. So it feels weird, like 1 p.m. Like, yeah, I just had my lunch, time to go ahead and cast.
Right on. So, question for the both of you then. You kind of skirted around talking more meta versus items. What do you prefer to talk about as a caster? Do you prefer to talk more about the team comps, or do you prefer more to talk about the items, especially when they're weird? Like that, I believe it was the blink for the instead of horrific?
Mhm. Yeah, so as a chair two, I honestly like focusing on the items because meta doesn't matter within a game that it isn't being built in. There's really like if a player is going some weird stuff in a game, there's no point in saying this is what they should be building because they aren't and they can't hear you. So you can say I would rather have them build this, but you should be focusing on what the build does, some merits of the blink, or some merits of the other thing, to provide some insight to provide the insight to the viewers and also to your co-caster of where you want of where you think and what to focus on later on in the game to build a story.
How about
I
you?
yeah, I'm the opposite actually. So being a chair one, I like talking about the comps, and
Yep.
but even when I do chair two with Judas regularly, I always talk about the compilation of the teams because I think so much of the game is around how teams are built and how they play
Yep.
as a structure. So I always mention, that I do a bit of coaching myself, and I always try and talk about how to structure a front line and how things you've got to look out for. And yeah,
Yep.
I think builds, I always think people concern themselves a bit too much with on the negative side. So kind of what Panda's saying
Yeah.
there, people will say, "Oh, why have they built this?" And it's like, well, there's no correct way to build gods. It's an open branch. As soon as the game starts, you can build them any way you want. You can, as long as it's working for you, you're going to get the best out of it. So yeah, for me, I love talking about the way the teams line up and
Yeah.
what to expect from team fights, because team fights is where all the fun happens as chair one.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, I definitely do enjoy talking about team comps. Just the theory crafting of it. It is one of my favorite things. I just tend to, as a chair one, I definitely try and throw those questions over to my chair two, just to kind of construct a story because a lot of casting in Smite is constructing a story for your viewers to follow.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and another thing is maintaining the energy levels. And I felt
Yeah.
you both did pretty well, where both Panda and Carrie was pacing it well. And what people might not know is casters need to control their intonation, and as something more as
Hard, man.
something think of it as a scale 1 to 10. As something more exciting happens, you go from a 4 to a 6 to an 8, and when something crazy happens like that Penta, it deserves a 10. But then Panda here, the tier 2, has to take that 10 and gradually bring it back down to like a
Say.
4.
Yeah.
That way the energy levels are in kind of a constant flux to keep your guys' attention and keep your enjoyment up.
Yeah.
So, how do
That's
you
the
feel?
challenging part, isn't it? To be honest, so I compare it to sort of the first game that I cast for So You Think You Can Cast, and after the coaching, I recognised those as being really important things.
Mhm.
So it's matching the energy of the person you're either passing to or receiving from. To be honest, I think Panda did great there. Panda did really, really well in sort of
Yeah.
allowing me to come back in once I've sort of got my breath back and yeah, and
Yeah.
just match their energy come back through. So yeah, they were great, honestly, really, really good. I'm not just saying that, Panda. You a really good chair too there.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I
I
feel the
enjoyed
handoffs.
it.
Sorry, go on, Panda.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. As Scuba was saying, I feel like the handoffs were really clean. At least as a caster coming from my side, it never felt like you were intent, like you were just like hard stopping me. You were letting me get out something, and if it was going on too long, you were cutting me off, allowing me to finish a fight for a very clean handoff. It never felt like you were just like kind of uh, having to take the mic in casting because
Yeah.
often if something does go too long, you quote unquote take the mic, you take control of the cast, and it never really felt like that happened on either side.
And that was one thing I was called upon for the first one, was being too overpowering as a
Mhm.
chair one, because it was the first time. A lot of my casting when I first started was I was chair one and two, so I had to
Yeah,
fill all the airtime.
yeah, I
So
understand that.
I was calling really mundane things that were happening, whereas obviously after the coaching, it was like that's where your chair two talks. So I was like, yeah, just let them talk about what they want to
Mhm.
say. They might have 5 things they want to touch upon. If nothing's interesting happen, there's nothing for me to say, so just let them go. And yeah, I felt
Yeah,
that you filled the air that I left you, which is the
yeah,
challenging bit, isn't it? Because if I hand over and nothing's happening and you hand it back and I'm like,
yeah.
nothing's happening.
Ah,
Yeah,
at that point, you try to think of like a bad pun to make,
yeah,
just to make your chair too cringe, and then talk about something else.
Yeah, but no, that never needed to do it. You filled
Yeah.
sort of the airtime sort of really, really well. Yeah.
So this
I-
will be the last question for you guys, since we need to get going into probably starting to set up shortly. So how do you feel about pulling things from your rear when you have to talk about things? Like, you know, when you're on desk and it's like the game just isn't quite ready, or when there's nothing on the screen and it's like, well, crap, I need a subject now. It's like, is there a formula for it, or do you just kind of go full golden retriever and just like, oh, there's a shiny spot?
To be honest, because obviously the start of that second game, there was quite a lot of time between it starting because of a delay with a live game. It always happens. I can have like a tier system. So the first thing I'll talk about is the gods that have just immediately been picked, or something that has immediately happened. And then, once that's been exhausted, then it's maybe, is there something we can touch upon from the previous game that may come over into this game? And then when that's out the way, that's when it's really like clutching at, do we talk
Yeah.
about, I don't know, the current meta in terms of where does this god stand, or yeah. So I think once you have a structure of when things are going wrong, I think that's an easy way out of it. So if anyone listening is like wants to get into casting, I'd 100% advise having that. For a living, I have to talk to people, and I have to have what we call like get out phrases. So when we think it's going wrong, we have something that we can just rely back onto. And when you've got to fill dead air, the first thing you touch upon is the gods that you see on screen, that's
Yep.
something that's just happened. And then, yeah, just have like, if that's gone, refer to this. If that's gone, refer to
Yep.
this. And then once you're 4 or 5 in, something should be going again for you.
Yeah. As a chair too, I honestly think when if nothing's happening, most of your thing is just literally either analyzing fights or just pulling things out of the items, talking about little points. So as a chair two, honestly, one of the best practices that was given to me by Spooky was constantly when your chair one is talking, look at those items. Literally, just look at the items because the items you can go out and construct your own story from them. You can say, oh, I think of this, and if they're going down a meta build, you can kind of go through their build path and see where it differs, if it does, or you can use that as a talking point, as we did again with that horrific. It is a very good example because with this blink, it was interesting. You don't commonly see it, so when you're mentioning it, you go ahead and you say this, and this is what I'd like, but this has merit. It really works out because it creates a great talking point and is able to allow a segue. But also, I think what a lot of casters don't realize is it's okay to just put in some banter. Like
Yeah.
jokes are really what help a lot of casts go through. You see it at some cat. You see it with some casters who have been casting together a long time, and you see it just with two really relaxed casters, or you even see it in the SPL.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. You need, like, although it's great to do 100%, sort of professional, but
Mm.
sometimes funny things happen. Sometimes, like Ganesh getting a kill.
Like
Like,
Ganesh getting a kill,
yeah.
or
And
X-Blog his statue floating in the air. Yeah, it's just some fun things to focus on.
yeah, yeah. And I think it breaks it and reminds us all that, at the end of the day, it is here for entertainment, isn't it? Not just, just strictly professional. The fun can be had, and Ganesh getting a kill is a big one for me because I play Ganesh, and we get a kill maybe once a month, so you got to highlight it.
It's like your allowance.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure on that Ganesh kill. It's like all of a sudden Ganesh with the kill on the board. It's like, what? It's
What's
like
this
he's out of
happening
blood now.
in my Smite game?
yeah, that's yeah.
So, to the viewers out there, just to give you an idea of what So You Think You Can Cast is, just in case you might have missed it. This is something that I put together. I had a bunch of the casters sign up, and we're eliminating them pretty much on bulk until we figure out who the best chair one. And chair one is the hype man, the guy who's doing the play-by-play. That's what Kara was doing this whole time. And who the best chair two is. And that's what Panda Bear was doing tonight, or rather today for us Americans. And he's giving you the analysis. He's letting chair one take a break because some of these fights go on forever. And giving you the meta, the theory, the interesting talking points. So that's what those two are doing. We're finding the best ones of the amateur league. the best ones are gonna win not only $200 each, they're also gonna win a little special prize that I refuse to give away until the very end. And I feel that the casters in the know are gonna be like, holy crap, this prize is better than the cash. So I'm hoping that's correct.
I'm gonna keep it real. I didn't know there was like a $200 catch prize.
Nor did I. I'll be
I didn't know
honest.
you guys
I
were
didn't
gonna
know
win
that either.
$200.
You could have saved yourself $400 there.
you literally just could have said like I was given like 1,000 smite gems. I'm like, yeah, that's fair.
Nope. I'm giving you $100, and Goremizer is giving you $100.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Goremizer DM'd me privately and said, "Dude, this holds a special place in my heart because another thing that a lot of newcomers don't know, this is the revival of an official high-res event.
Yep.
This is how a lot of actual Smite casters got into their career. They went through this competition, and yeah, they actually became professional casters. I believe that's how Goremeister. I believe Finch did too. if I
Finch
remember
and
right.
Myth.
Finch
Finch and
definitely
Myth.
did.
If I
Yeah,
think.
I remember
I'm certain on
following.
Finch.
Yeah, Finch definitely did. Yeah, I remember following because that was the first season I got into watching and playing competitive Smite was that, and I just remember following Finch from his first couple of casts to the Worlds he did a couple of years ago, and just being like,
Yeah, seasons are
it's
insane.
astonishing how good he became from
Yeah.
the guy who just started from a competition like this. Like, I genuinely believe of all the sport and pro stuff I've ever watched, he's genuinely the best I've seen do it. Just his ability to just his dictation, his energy, and the way to just never miss what has happened, and the way he painted a story, yeah, the best to do it. So yeah, it's a competition with prestige.
Yeah. So I'm hoping I'm doing it justice. I'm hoping that we can make this. I'm hoping we can bring this to another year or two. We'll find out on that.
Yeah.
But all that being said, if you want to follow this, you can come to the official Discord. Just go to the role assign in there, grab the amateur and the event role. I will ping both of them, and I'll tell you when we're live, because this isn't just on Smite Night. This goes around to a lot of different leagues. We've had Valhalla, we've had Albion Giants, Galeria, Quacken, just tons of different leagues were gracious enough to let us host this. So there's that. Remember to fill out that form if you want. And a big ask, if you actually want to get into this side of the amateur league, whether you want to be on production or you want to be caster, you don't need much. You really don't need much. Production, you just need a computer and you need to be able to log into a game. We will teach you everything else. And for a caster, really all you need is a mic.
Like a microphone.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's
You just
And
need
a
a
screen.
microphone.
You need a microphone and a screen.
a $5, £5,
Yeah.
I guess it would be mic for that's all I started with. Yeah, I was casting on console originally, so it can be done.
I was casting on an Xbox mic. That was my first like a Walmart Xbox mic is what I was casting on originally.
Yeah, you don't need much, people.
Yeah.
You don't need much. And if you like it, then you start upgrading. But hey, you do get some gems. You do get some extra little things on the side here and there again.
Get to grow your Twitch quite quickly.
Fun community, great community. We will support you.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, that's all I have. Again, thanks for Judas for running the camera. And we're going to see Judas again, not only running the camera, but also running Chair 1 in the next game alongside Kaizo, Chair 2. Expect good things. That's all I got for you, gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you shortly.